not equitable. What was that?
I have my suggestion, we're recording apparently.
Okay.
My suggestion is that the Board Affairs Committee could certainly invite single representatives to sit at the table and participate in that discussion. And I think that would be my recommendation, is that that's the direction you go. Doesn't like it.
No, can I add one thing? I mean, the problem that has been all along with the policy, the guest pass policy, single or the way before, is there was no limits, and therefore there was no way that GVR could enforce anything. When somebody used it for 300, 700 days, which has happened, there was no way to enforce it. And I think that's what this is trying to do, is for GVR to be able to say, this is the end of the use of this, and there were statistics about how many people have overused this. Now, maybe that shouldn't outweigh the equity of single people, but I think those two things need to be balanced somewhat, some degree.
Typically, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, typically on a work session, for a board work session, people who show up at that meeting do not get to be heard until the board is finished discussing it. Typically at a committee meeting, it is pretty much handled the same way. The committee members discuss it first, and if there are people in the audience, they get to speak to it. So at what point do we get to include the single people that want to be a part of that committee, that want to be able to discuss this issue?
The Board of Affairs could create a subcommittee. Other committees have done that. There's a history of that. There's precedence for that. So you could invite some singles to participate in that subcommittee.
Yeah, but the subcommittee then is usually less number of people than is either on the board or on the committee itself.
Either way, I don't think there's anything that says that you can't invite singles to participate in that discussion at a committee meeting or at a work session. I mean, they're your meetings, so they're your rules. If you want some singles there to represent the interests of the single membership, then you can invite them to sit at the table and participate in the discussion and help develop solutions, which I think would be very helpful. You can do that in a work session too. That means you're all participating and it's not the Board Affairs Committee.
Turn the microphone on, Marge. So Candy's suggesting we go to a work session with this issue, go back to a work session so the board can attend and understand it before we have to come in here and vote and look like idiots because we don't know. And at that time, Candy can invite some of our single guests to come in and talk to us so we can hear all the sides of the issue. But I think we need to talk about the whole issue, not just a part of it. Is that right, Candy? I mean, is that what you're thinking? And if Scott says we can bring people into the work session.
Yeah,
okay?
that's what I'm thinking is the work session. I think we can discuss a little bit more, but it is imperative that we hear what the single people have to say, because I feel like that the Board Affairs Committee, I think and again, I'll take responsibility for this, I feel like we just messed up big time on the guest policy, the annual guest policy. And I think we still need to define what temporary means. But in order to address this issue, I think it's important that we hear from who it affects the most, which is the members and those single households.
I would like to make a comment that if we are going to send it back to a work session, that it be done next month. We are at the end of a year, and snowbirds, many of whom are single, are going to be leaving, and they're not going to get to participate. So if we're going to do it, we need to do it now. Scott?
I object. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think that is fine. I'm just thinking, looking at my calendar here, maybe the Oh, well, heck. I mean, we can do it pretty quickly. I don't know why we couldn't. You have a meeting already on the 18th. The 11th is a possibility. The 4th is a possibility. You have an election forum at 5 on the 4th. Why don't we do a Google or
Zoom?
I can't think of the name, but it's a survey of you to find out what dates work for you.
SurveyMonkey.
And then we'll figure out maybe a date that would work for everyone. But sure, we have a couple members in the audience that I think would probably volunteer to participate in that workshop, and we might want to get their phone numbers and contact them, and then work with everyone on scheduling a work session. Does that sound okay?
It sounds fine to me, too. I'm just concerned that snowbirds are going to be leaving and they're not going to have the input if we don't do it this month. Yeah. Okay. So Scott will send out a SurveyMonkey, is that what you call it, to the board
Yes.
to see what is the best day in March to use it for a work session for this issue to come up again and be discussed.
Great.
And I am happy to take it to the Singles Club. We meet every Monday, so we can get a group of people to be able to come and give their input.
Madam Chair, can we vote on the motion and?
Yeah, we need to do that, but I want to make sure that it's a board workshop and not a BAC workshop. Is that what your motion was, Candy? Yes, ma'am. Okay, and Dave seconded that? Yes.
Could the committee could they go to your Monday meeting and talk to the singles there? I mean, if you have 70 members there, would it be better if they get their input? I mean, it's just an idea, and then bring it back to us through a regular work session on, that.
I don't have an issue with that, but Scott?
He's going to say no, I can tell by the look.
No,
on
I
his
mean,
face.
we can do that. We can help facilitate that discussion. My reservation is it going to be productive with 75 people?
It might not be for that many people.
That's my
true.
concern.
That's true.
And so
I
I'm
withdraw my
hoping again that
question.
we can come up with solutions to a real problem that, so I think it would be better, honestly, to invite some representatives to come and participate at a workshop, a work session of the board.
But even if we have a work session, Scott, that is open to the general
It is.
membership. So more than those people
is.
you want, that you invite, still have the right to come to that meeting and be heard,
The
even if
meetings
they're
are
not
open.
the individuals who were invited. As long as everybody understands that anybody can come to that meeting. Okay.
We need to vote.
So we should go ahead and vote on the fact that we'll have a work session in March, and then Scott will send around a
Doodle poll.
doodle poll to the board members to see what is the best day to have that work session. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I see 8 hands. And all those opposed? 1. Well, it has to be more than 1. Okay. Eight, 9, so that accounts for 10 people. We have 11 people here. Oh, Jody's gone. I'm sorry. We have 10 people here, so 8, 9, 10. Okay, we have 10 then. We have 8 yeses, 1 no, which would be Steve Reynolds, and 1 abstain, which would be Beth Dingman. So we will arrange for a work session to continue this discussion on this agenda item. And thank you for all of those that came to hear what was going on for that particular agenda item. We're going to move on to item C, which would be to approve the CPM changes to 2.3.2.C.7 and 2.3.3.C of the CPM. And this has to do with basically housekeeping, if you will, on conduct for board meetings under item C. It is to delete the wording that says minutes on any GVR-related issue prior to the consent agenda, and this was for members to speak to the board prior to the consent agenda. We no longer do that, so the housekeeping portion of this is to delete that out of the CPM. And then the second item was the scheduling and preparation, had to do with, let's see, items for deleting and adding to the agenda at the board meeting. And for this one is for the item to be placed on the next, I'm sorry, let me read it. Items for agenda consideration must be submitted to the president and CEO or their respective designee by noon 6 business days prior to the date of the board meeting. If the deadline for item consideration is not met, the item will be placed on the next regular meeting agenda. If during the approval section of the agenda, a majority of directors support removal, and this is a change, or addition of any item, it will be changed, period. So that would be the change. It's just to add an addition instead of just removal, so that you have a choice of either adding or removing, and making the item as changed instead of the prior wording of removal. Do we have any?
I move we accept it as written.
Okay, Beth.
Second.
Beth made the motion and Lanny Smith seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand. I see a hand, is that, okay, so that's unanimous, thank you very much. The last item is the.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
President, sorry. We did want to vote on those separately.
Oh, you
Are we
did?
fine covering it?
Why?
Because you told me that.
Oh. Whoops.
Well, we just combined them.
I think they just combined them.
We did. We
Okay,
just
so you're
combined
fine
them.
with that? I just
And-
want to make sure.
And it was a unanimous vote,
Okay,
Nancy.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, the next item is the direction on the Del Sol Clubhouse Cafe, and Scott's going to take us through that.
I'm going to try. The board did meet on February 18th to discuss and debate the pros and cons of GVR providing food and beverage services at the clubhouse, rather than soliciting a vendor or installing vending machines. Most board members at the time did seem to be supportive of that direction, but there was a request for some additional data and maybe a more professional business plan or pro forma. We were able to synthesize the work that had been presented to you at that work session into a 2-page document, which is in your packet and available on the packet online. There's a couple things I would like to walk you through here. I've invited Steve Kindred, our recreation director, who authored this with a lot of assistance but did a fantastic job. So I wanted to start off by talking about what Phase 1 is. Phase 1 is very simple. We're talking about espresso drinks, coffee, smoothies, some pastries, maybe a simple breakfast sandwich or a burrito. The number of FTEs is about 0.75, so we're anticipating about 2 part-time staff members. And I wanted to clarify, we do have some staff on hand that are currently with us that may qualify for that position, and if they do, we would have to backfill those positions. So this first phase is anticipating a 0.75 increase to FTEs. By the time we get up to May 1st, which is where we're tentatively planning to go into Phase 2, and again, we'll see how that goes. You know, if we're not ready to go to Phase 2 May 1st, we won't. But if we are, we will. What we're anticipating at that point is to ramp up to 2.2 FTEs. Did I get that right, Steve? Okay, good. So this would expand the hours a little bit more and provide more options, especially for lunch. This would really expand from just the breakfast time into the lunch. So we're looking at soup, salads, sandwiches, maybe some desserts, ice cream, that type of thing. We would need a full-time kind of supervisor/manager position for the cafe. And then really we would anticipate continuing that phase at least until the end of the year, maybe even the through the next busy season. I think it depends on our comfort level and the interest. I mean, if the interest is there to expand from the membership to do maybe some evening activities, we can certainly do that. It would also include, phase 3 could also include obtaining a private club liquor license, which is very similar to the Elks or the Legion, where members could buy some lunch and then also have a glass of wine if they'd like. We've started a similar venture here at the West Center Auditorium, where we are providing beer and wine and some mixed drinks out at our makeshift bar out in the lobby, and it's been very popular, honestly. We're doing quite well, and I think people appreciate it. So that's essentially it. I mean, we realize this is a big change for GVR. We haven't done food and beverage. That's why we want to start off really light and small with a 0.75 and then increase very gradually from there and see how it goes. And we're here to answer any questions.
Can I make a motion?
Sure, start the discussion, yeah.
I move to direct staff to pursue creating an in-house GVR-operated cafe at the Del Sol Clubhouse and look to also pursue phase 3 during the 2027 budget process.
I'll second.
Marge, that was you, wasn't it, Marge? Okay, so Marge seconded. So we're open for discussion now at this point. Beth?
2 questions. First, on page 24, where you have staff 6 hours at 15.50, is that 3 hours each for 2 people, or is that 2 people for 6 hours?
That's phase 1. That chart, I believe it's 1. Is that right? You're looking
Yeah,
at
for
the
full 6
staff
hours,
hours,
yeah, but-
16 hours.
Right, it's phase 1, right, I get that, okay. So that's
It's a little green box.
3 hours each for 2 people, is that what you're saying?
I think that's,
That's how it reads, yes.
It could,
I think
you know
you're-
what? Let's go ahead.
I'll ask Steve.
It could be that, it could be one person working 6 hours 3 days a week and another working 6 hours 2 days a week.
So there would be only one person?
One person there for
Okay,
6 hours a day.
Okay, just a question. And the other question I have is when this was being looked at last year, or before you went to the vendor, and that was the recommendation at the time to go with the vendor, is there, besides the issue of, has anything else changed except the feeling that we didn't work out as well and that we think GVR can do a better job? Has anything else changed in your reasoning about putting in a staff to run this?
You know, we said this a little bit at the work session, but the fact is, if you own it, you control it. You can make sure that we're complying with health code laws, with fire marshal laws. We control the prices. We control what we sell. When we have a vendor, we don't control that. We really give that over. It's their business. So after the experience that we had, I think we learned a great deal, and honestly think it is probably less risky to some degree to go down the route that we're recommending.
Nellie?
Thank you. This issue goes back actually 2 years when a subcommittee was formed. In September of 2023, they released their subcommittee report, and the recommendations at that time was to go forward with from the subcommittee to the FAC with a GVR-operated cafe, limited to more of an operation as a phase-in from 7 to 3. We also did a member survey, which basically endorsed the approach. The board went in a different direction at the time to try a vendor, and we do now have that experience of that not working out. And so as we look at going forward, I think the subcommittee's report supports it. I think the experience we had with the vendor lends us and gave us some additional information. And I guess I think that the pro forma business plan that we have in front of us needs additional perhaps work as we phase into it, but there are uncertainties in any type of business that is launched. So launching phase 1 and 2 gives us what the members wanted, what the subcommittee proposed to the FAC a couple of years ago. I believe we would then be able to explore the opportunities to expand beyond that. I would like staff to address the question of the licensure of the Department of Health, because that is something that is new for us. So if they could just kind of respond where we're at with that. But I think from my perspective, this is worth a chance to address the members' needs. It also enhances, because we are able to really promote special events, and I'd like staff to address that, because that's really the pro forma business plan really says that we need to wrap up the special events activities that are planned there in coordination with the cafe. And if that happens, then this venture can be a positive for the members as well as for GVR. Thank you.
Steve, did you want to take those questions, or you want me to do it? Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So in terms of permitting, we've had a conversation with the Department of Health at this point. They're very familiar with the facility. We've described at a really high level over the phone what our intent is, what we're looking to do. They said that seems very doable for that space. We have to fill out the application now and get a little bit more descriptive on what we plan to do, what we plan to serve, hours of operation, that type of thing. The permitting process, I don't expect to be very difficult or challenging at that point. It seems like that's going to be a fairly simple lift for us. And in terms of scheduling events, I think that was another argument to point to Beth's question about why it made sense to bring it back in-house, because it is a much more seamless choreography of providing food and beverage and events at the Del Sol Clubhouse. We've already tried to ramp up and plan on ramping up our events and activities at the clubhouse. And I think when we compare that with, compare, but pair that with food and beverage, I think we're going to have a much more likely recipe for success than having a vendor try to work with us on those types of things.
Just one other follow-up question on the licensure. I don't know if it's a license or a permit. I think a greater understanding of the requirements for the liquor license, it's not something that I deal with, but as we go into moving it forward, understanding the differences and the pros and the cons of the type of liquor license would be something that would be worthwhile, but not necessary. I think we can move forward with the recommendation here, but that education process would be helpful.
Candy?
I have a question for Steve. Are you and your staff ready to take this on?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you're ready to take this on, and Nellie, I appreciate your attention to detail, good Lord. But I think there comes a time where if the staff is ready and they have this business plan, that we as a board just need to let them do their thing. I don't think it's up to us to decide about the license or what they're going to serve or this kind of thing. That's my opinion. Let the staff do their thing. We don't need to get into operations and get into all this nitty-gritty kind of stuff.
Bart?
Thanks. Just very briefly, I'm going to start off by anticipating the first wave of complaints you're going to get, and that is charging $5 for water. I assume this is probably a half-liter bottle of water that's going to cost us maybe 15 or 20 cents, while all of these other beverages, which require a lot more labor, are either the same price or less. But then I'm going to move on to the fact that GVR is a 501c4. It's a nonprofit. We don't have any experience whatsoever in running businesses for profit. The assumption that this cafe is going to be profitable for GVR, by that I mean that its receipts are going to exceed its expenses, strikes me as very optimistic. I would say almost fancifully optimistic. And as little as a year ago, that was the prevailing view on the board. And I think even with Scott, at least my recollection of Scott's remarks, were we're all agreed that we don't want to get into this trying to run a business for profit. But I'm just one board member and one vote. But I do wonder what effect this will have on our insurance bill. Restaurants, most restaurants that open, unless they're well-established franchise operations, close within a year. So, and much of the time, it's expenses that weren't anticipated. One of them is insurance. How much extra on our insurance bill will running a restaurant cost GVR? And that's it from me. Thanks.
Thank you. Lanny?
I support what Candy is saying, is that I think staff have presented us with a good business plan. They have discussed phase 3 only in terms of if it feels right, if it looks right, and the options make good sense. I think to Bart's point, I would believe, Bart, at that point in time, staff would be looking at all of those issues to ensure that it does make sense. The other thing, the last point I'd like to make is, this clearly aligns with GVR's mission statement. And I think we as a board, are the promoters, if you like, or the stewards of the mission statement. And I believe that staff have brought us a proposal that clearly aligns itself with our mission statement, and I fully support us going forward and finding out what the heck's going to happen.
Thank you. Jody, you've been waving your hand. It's not that I'm not seeing you. I'm glad you could join us. Go ahead. But you're muted. You need to unmute.
She's saying go ahead.
I can't read the hand signals.
I think she's saying go ahead. Maybe to Bev Lawless while she works on her.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Bev?
I'm going to repeat what I said a year ago. I don't think the purpose of the Del Sol Cafe is to make money. Yeah, it was never intended to make money. If we make money, great. But if we break even, or even maybe a small loss, I think that's okay. The purpose of the Del Sol Cafe is to bring another benefit to the members by adding food and beverage, by pairing it with entertainment. That's what we are doing. I don't know if there are any clubs in GVR that make money for GVR. They all have expenses for facilities or utilities or fences or whatever. They all charge dues for their club, but are any of them really are they money makers for GVR? I don't think so. They're there because, and the pools certainly aren't money makers. They are there to provide benefits to the members, and that's what the Del Sol Cafe is. And I think we should move forward with this attempt. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least we tried. And I think it's important to let the staff do what they know how to do. There are several, including Scott, that know how to run a cafe or a coffee shop or whatever. And as the staff is planning to move forward slowly and not jump into things until they're ready. And I think we need to give them a chance. Thank you.
Okay. Steve?
I think this plan gives us the opportunity to succeed. It's a phased-in approach. It gives our members affordable prices, which I don't think we had in the past. One thing I do I would like to see is a financial statement for the clubhouse. I think it's very important that we track our progress before we move on to additional phases. And that way we can be sure that we're working on developing a successful program at the clubhouse. Thanks.
Nellie, go ahead.
My understanding from staff, and they can clarify, that this would be tracked as a separate business line, so we would be able to track the progress. Can you confirm that?
Confirm, yes.
I'm sorry, Bev, go ahead.
One more quick thing. As described in an email that the entire board received this week, for everybody sitting here who didn't get that email, water is not going to be $5, it's going to be $2.
I was thinking the same thing, Bev, but I do have a question for Scott, and I just kind of whispered at him a few minutes ago. When we started doing this 2 years ago, we asked our attorney with regards to non-members being able to use this facility. And I believe our attorney suggested that we should charge for non-members to come in. And we've gotten an email from Scott kind of speaking to that. So my question would be, because there are 3 different phases here, I hate for us to say, okay, let's open it up to the public, whether we charge or not charge, it doesn't make any difference to me, because I am in support of this program. But to me, if we're going to be changing the rules back and forth in the CPM as to this specific facility allowing non-members to come in, or changing it back because we're getting a liquor license that's going to take care of a private club, I just would like to know, should we really be bouncing back and forth, or should we just say it's for members only?
You know, at this point, I think it would be better to open up to the public, just the cafe side, because we are interested in trying to break even. And if we have people outside that aren't members that want to buy a cup of coffee or a pastry, I think we should take advantage of that. I know for certain that there are certain businesses in the area that have staff that don't live in the area, but they were patronizing the cafe before. I think there were some first responders, the fire department, others that were regularly participating in buying, food and beverage items from the cafe as well. So I feel like we'd be leaving money on the table, frankly, if we didn't open it to the public at this point. The attorney originally recommended that a nominal fee be charged to non-members because the 2 governing documents, the bylaws and the corporate policy manual, talk pretty extensively about how there's an additional charge in various places throughout those documents for non-members. So, after speaking with him, I think he took a more conservative view and said, this is more consistent with what your documents say. In my recent conversation with him last week about this, I said, we found that it was a bit cumbersome. It was a little off-putting to those non-members, and I can understand why. You're going to charge me so I can come in and buy a cup of coffee from you. I'm giving you my business. And, so he looked at it again, particularly at the CPM. You've got it right there. What is it? 6.13. And really adding another, can I see that real quick? Thanks. And adding another line to that. This would become E, but this says GVR activities are open to the general public. And then we would add a subsection E that says the cafe section of the clubhouse would allow non-members to make purchases without being subject to a fee or a surcharge. We could certainly still charge the 25 cents if that's really what the board wants, but our experience was it was a little cumbersome and a little off-putting to charge people for wanting to buy their coffee. So we would recommend that we amend the CPM to include that language. You could do it at this meeting. Frankly, we could also bring it to your next regular meeting in March, which is probably better, because then you'll have time to digest that more if you'd like.
Okay, I'm happy with that response. I'm sorry, who? Okay, let's take Jody if she can speak. Go ahead, Jody.
Can you hear me?
There you go. Now we can hear you.
Yay! It only took me 3 tries to get there, but I got it. Okay, so 1, I agree with this plan. 2, I agree with Candy and Lanny. Get out of the weeds. It's operations. And Scott, you had a rule. If it takes longer than 5 minutes to provide the document or paperwork, you need to ask the board. I think we're asking way too much with the information that's been provided. Let's move on this. We're going to hold this back and miss out on a good opportunity by asking too many questions. We have the assets in place. What's it going to cost? A little bit of food and some use of some resources. Let's do a 90-day test drive and see what we can get done. I asked Scott, and this again is in operations, just my opinion, let's grow slowly. Let's go with the basics. Let's not expand into elaborate stuff until we get a great footing. Additionally, I would like to see, because we get a lot of people volunteering, that we utilize the folks that want to volunteer for free and have food service certificates. We need to tap into that. Anything, and we're not here to make a ton of money, but if we can be on the plus side of this, let's be on the plus side of this. Let's look at this as positive because our membership have spoken. And let's stay out of Scott's business and let him run with it. We are dragging this ship down. Thank you.
Thanks, Jody. Okay, Bart.
Thanks. I've heard a couple of my fellow board members say, well, let's let staff do what they know how to do. You know, GVR staff are not in the restaurant business. I'm pretty sure that in the interview process that resulted in them being hired, they weren't asked what they knew about the restaurant business. You know, what Scott knows about the restaurant business, Scott, I think I'm correct, was many, many moons ago, back in horse and buggy days. Because that's certainly the restaurant business has not been the career that put you here. That I've heard also, well, this is operations. So, the board ought to back out of this. This is operations. The operations of GVR, a 501c4, are essentially member service operations. They are not restaurant operating operations. So, I feel free to stick my nose in wherever I want on the issue of should we run a restaurant. So, there you go. That's it from me.
Thank you. Nellie?
Well, I want to go back to Scott's point on the open to the public. Actually, the Del Sol under the vendor was open to the public as a non-member. And so that was an important concept under the business plan that the subcommittee looked at a couple of years ago. And it was implemented. And I also agree that if we were to take it over, it is kind of a nuisance charge. So if we are going to look at this, we may want to postpone that part of the discussion until next month about whether we want to charge 25 cents or not charging 25 cents. But I just want to point out that it had been a public cafe, and it was, and I was one of the people who went there probably twice a week. It was well accepted by the businesses there in the area, the fire department, the local business, hairdressers utilized the cafe. So it was a community resource to them as well. That's not the intent of the cafe, but it served both purposes.
Bev?
I'm going to state my opinion against volunteers for this, at least in the cafe, as far as the kitchen, food prep area, et cetera. Cappuccino machines, espresso machines. Some of the other machines are very complicated to not so much operate, but to take care of them, clean them, et cetera. And volunteer, you would have different volunteers on different days. Sometimes you're not going to show up for whatever reason, whether it's family, medical, gee, I just forgot. Even at the Glass Club, where I am a member, we have volunteers for different monitoring positions, et cetera. We have people that only certain people are trained, say, to run the cash machine and the point of sale, which would be an issue. And you can't have random people coming in, oh, Thursday's my day, I'm going to come in and, make espressos for everybody. You would not get consistent service, and people would get very dissatisfied. And we've already had trouble with the machines not being well taken care of by people who were supposedly trained. We don't want to risk that again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Oh, Jody?
Okay, yeah, Bev, I can agree with you to a certain extent. But if we could have somebody just at the counter picking out a pastry, a donut, heating up a sandwich, but not working on the cappuccino, I just think that that's pretty basic information, basic food service. Additionally, Bart, this is not a full-fledged restaurant. This is just a cafe where we're going to reheat some sandwiches. We're not cooking food from scratch. We're picking out donuts and pastries that we already been previously prepared and handing it off to the customer. I think the biggest concern would be the cappuccino machine. I totally get that. That's an expensive piece of equipment, but I don't think this is rocket science. It's basic customer service of providing a small, basic food. I'm good.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on because I have to agree. Poor Scott and his staff get to do their jobs. We should let them do their jobs. We should not get involved in this, and we've already had some discussions on that. So let's just move on. Does any other board member have a comment? Because otherwise I'm going to open it up to audience that might have a comment. Okay, if there's anybody in the audience that would like to weigh in on this, please come up to the microphone, and you can stand one behind the other. Give us your name and your GVR number, and you have 2 minutes to give us your comments.
Mari Nelson, 103982. I just have a comment or a thought I just want to throw out to you. Consider a food truck. During the time that you do your research, you present a comprehensive plan to the members, and then you can understand all the components that you've been discussing. But also you have the advantage of the summertime. So consider a food truck or multiple food trucks, open it up different days, different food trucks, to see what kind of attendance that you get, and you can monitor that. That is my comment as far as food and beverage before you want to get into that. But more importantly, I want to address the upcoming fourth First Responders Fair and Public Safety Fair. It will be held out at the, here, I'll just give it to you.
Please say that in the microphone, please, Mari. Thank you.
It will be held out at the historic Canoa Ranch on March 14th. It's open to everyone, and on the backside even has a promotion for the kids. So I hope you will all come out and attend the First Responders and Safety Fair for an opportunity to thank all of our first responders. And it's fire, it's police, it's all of the men and women that do the job to protect our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mari. Would anybody else like to come up?
My name is Les Torgerson. I live in Canoa Estates. I don't remember my number.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to speak right into the microphone because
Okay, how
if
is
you
this?
speak at the side or the top, we're not going to be able to
Can you
hear
hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Name is Les Torgerson. I live in Canoa Estates. I forgot my card. I don't know my number. I can give you an address, but
Address would be great. Thank you.
3443 South Placita del Disfrute.
Thank you.
And I did use the Club del Sol a few times this year, and particularly found it interesting and nice to be able to watch the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday. I think that could be a big thing for the group, but that's also something that you might, places to watch the football games on Sunday. They're not available on local channels unless you're from Phoenix or, and it would be nice if that was available. It was available this year. but there are only 2 televisions in there, and they're very big. They could be smaller and a lot more of them for different games that are going on at the same time. And I think if you're going to have a restaurant, another thing I would recommend is that you use the facility and where the pool table is and set that up too, because it was crowded up there sometimes. And the idea that it might be crowded discourages people from coming. I also would say I would recommend keep it simple. Don't try to make it too complicated. It's a beautiful location, and it's, I think people who hike really enjoy stopping there. I hope that it's successful, so that's all I want to say. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Les. You don't need to raise your hand, you just need to walk up to the microphone and
Hello, I'm Connie Johnson, Madam Chairperson, Board, and staff. I'm delighted that this project is being considered, and I'm glad that you tried it with the private sector, and you're projectizing it in a sense. But I would recommend just 2 things. You have 3 phases in here. After each phase, you take a short evaluation on two accounts. One account is, as you say, the overall purpose of GVR, of member services. Check it out. What happened? What are the pluses and minuses? What are the gaps? Before you move into the next phase, which is more complicated, requires more services. But the evaluation to contain 2 things. One, the response of the membership, participation, quality, that sort of thing. Recommendation for changes. And 2, evaluation of the business line. This is a business plan. We want it to break even. It doesn't have to make a profit, maybe a slight loss, but we want it to continue. That's profitability. I don't know what the business plan contained in terms of cash flow, assumptions on participation, income, but I would hope that would be a baseline, but at least evaluate it at each phase before you turn the key to the next one. But I congratulate you on bringing it back. Thanks.
thank you, Connie. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this item on the agenda? Okay. We have a motion on the floor and a second to move forward as it's been presented. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. I'm seeing 9 yeses. All those opposed? 1, 2. And I'm seeing 2 opposed, and that would be Bart Hillier and Dave Barker, Nancy. So the motion passes, and Scott, congratulations. We're looking forward to this.
Great, we are too.
Okay, so at this point, are there any members that would like to make comments as before we adjourn the meeting?
Hi, I'm Dale Howard, 266061, and I'm one of the 5 candidates for the Board of Directors. And I'm very disappointed. I found out in an email from Nancy the other day that our first forum is at Canoa Hills and will not be recorded. So I'm very disappointed that the election will have actually started before the majority of the people, other than the initial interview from Regina and the fine questions that the newspaper asked us, that first session won't be available to those who don't attend the forum that night. And I think it's a disrespect to all 5 of the candidates that we don't get an opportunity for more exposure. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Anybody else would like to make a comment?
Hi, my name is Tom Wallace, member 271353. Just a quick statement regarding the passes, where I believe that it is, in my opinion, that a homeowner, whether it's a single person or a married couple, that you pay one fee, you should all get the same benefits that comes with that fee. Outside of that, anybody else that are a guest are subject to whatever policy you put up for money and duration. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else have a comment? Like the rest of us, you're getting stiff.
I know, it's too long. Dan Hankey, 256396, to continue what he just said about paying our fees, the $540. We should get 2 passes per person. I have rentals, I should get 2 more, not to throw a wrench in it, but if we pay the same, we should all get the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Okay, if there's nobody coming forward, just a reminder that the people who are running for the board will be out in the lobby. If anybody cares to talk to them individually or as a group. And other than that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you,
Second.
Lanny. Who did the second?
Bev.
Beth? Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Everybody in favor, raise your hand. Looks unanimous. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We'll see you next time.